The neighborhood of Willow Creek looked like every Pinterest-perfect American suburb you've ever seen. Rolling green lawns clipped to exactly 2.5 inches. American flags waving at identical 45-degree angles. And not a single trash can visible on the street after 7 p.m. Because those were the rules. And the rules were gospel. Handed down by our HOA president, Barbara Prescott, or as everyone privately called her, Karen with a capital K. She wore pastel cardigans, spoke in that honey-dripping southern cadence, and could cite Regulation 4.7 subsection C faster than most people could order coffee. My name is Emily Thompson, 36, auditor at a mid-sized firm in Raleigh. I bought my townhouse here 3 years ago because the schools were good, the commute was short, and the monthly HOA fee of $185 seemed reasonable for all the community benefits. Reasonable. That word still makes me laugh until I cry. I was the one who paid every fine on time, the one who trimmed my hedges to the millimeter, the one who quietly wrote checks when Karen sent those passive-aggressive violation notices about my slightly faded welcome mat or the unauthorized bird feeder that supposedly lowered property values by 0.03%, while other neighbors argued, appealed, or just ignored the letters. I paid, because I was the responsible one, the reliable one, the HOA's personal ATM with legs. It started small. A $75 fine for my trash can being out 2 minutes too long. Then $150 when my lawn service accidentally left one dandelion. Then the special assessments, voluntary, of course, for the new entrance sign, the community Christmas lights, the memorial bench no one ever sat on. I wrote the checks. Karen would pat my shoulder at board meetings and coo, Emily, dear, what'll we do without you? You're the backbone of Willow Creek. The backbone. Funny how the backbone never gets to sit down. My days were spreadsheets and audits. My evenings were mowing at dusk, so the grass was exactly the right shade of green by sunrise. I meal prepped on Sundays while the rest of the cul-de-sac slept in. My retirement account grew steadily while I watched Karen's husband drive a new golf cart that somehow belonged to the community but lived in their garage. I told myself it was investment, property values, peace and quiet. Until the Tuesday, I realized peace and quiet had a price tag, and I was the only one paying it. That was the day Karen's email arrived. Subject line glowing in my inbox like a warning flare. A special thank you dinner for our most valued homeowner. I stared at the screen. In 3 years, the only thank you I'd ever received was a form letter with a clip art smiley face. Now, suddenly the entire board wanted to honor me at a catered dinner Saturday night. Dressed nice. 6 o'clock sharp. My internal radar pinged so hard I almost laughed out loud. But I accepted, because a responsible Emily always accepted, and because something in my gut whispered that this time I needed to see the trap before I stepped in it. Saturday arrived sticky and humid, the kind of North Carolina spring evening where the air feels like warm soup. I chose my simple black dress, professional, not flashy, and drove the 2 blocks to the community clubhouse with my stomach already in knots. The parking lot was full, Karen's white Lexus gleaming under the streetlight like a throne on wheels. Inside, the long table was set with the good china, the stuff they only dragged out when they wanted something big. Candles flickered, soft jazz played, and there they all were, Karen in a pale pink cardigan, her husband Dave, the VP who never spoke above a whisper, board secretary Todd, the Zach equivalent, perpetual man-child with a vape pen hidden in his golf bag, and Todd's girlfriend Brittany, whose Instagram was 90% filtered selfies and 0 job history. Emily, our shining star, Karen sang, pulling me into a perfume-drenched hug that felt like being wrapped in a boa constrictor wearing Chanel No. 5. We just wanted to show our appreciation for everything you do for Willow Creek. You're always the first to step up, The first to write that check. The first to make us all look good. They sat me at the head of the table like I was the guest of honor instead of the cash cow. The meal was my favorite, heavy lasagna and garlic bread they'd asked about 6 months ago in a casual poll. Compliments flew like confetti. Emily's so organized. Best homeowner we've ever had. We literally couldn't keep this place running without you. I smiled, nodded, sipped my wine, and waited, because I had learned the hard way that buttering up always preceded the ask. It came right after dessert. Todd cleared his throat, eyes sparkling with that fake excitement I now recognized as $ greed. So we have some amazing news for the community. We're finally going to finish the pool renovation, the one that got delayed last year. Full spa section, new deck, cabanas, it's going to be spectacular. The whole package is only $18,000. And since you're our most reliable supporter, he let the sentence hang like a noose. Karen leaned in, voice dripping sympathy. We'd never ask if it wasn't for the children. Emily, think of the summer barbecues. Think of the property values skyrocketing. And of course, you get a lifetime VIP pass, front row lounger every weekend. I'll let the numbers sit in the air like a bad smell. $18,000. The same amount they'd casually mentioned in passing as a small special assessment that somehow always landed on my doorstep. I set my fork down gently. That sounds lovely, I said, voice calm. And who exactly is funding this little paradise? The temperature dropped 10 degrees. Karen's smile never wavered. Well, we were hoping our star resident might consider helping the way she always has. Families, communities, help each other, right? I smiled back. The first real smile I'd worn in months. Let me think about it. The silence that followed was delicious. The drive home that night felt different. Lighter, like the first breath after holding it for 3 years. I didn't rage. I didn't cry. I simply opened my laptop, pulled up the spreadsheet I'd been quietly maintaining since the bird feeder incident, and started adding columns. Every fine I'd paid, every special assessment, every voluntary donation for Karen's pet projects. The total by midnight stood at $137,000. A house down payment, a year of freedom, my future, vacuumed out of my checking account one polite email at a time. I closed the laptop and poured a glass of the good wine, the kind Karen always served but never paid for herself. As I sipped it, I remembered the tiny details I'd ignored for too long. How violation notices only seemed to hit houses whose owners couldn't afford lawyers. How the community fund mysteriously covered Karen's new patio furniture, but not the cracked sidewalk in front of the elderly couple on Maple Lane. How Todd's business, flipping vintage video games out of his garage, somehow never triggered a single business use violation. I was the only one who followed every rule to the letter. And they had turned that into a business model with my name on it. Tuesday afternoon, I stopped by the clubhouse to drop off the quarterly financial review Karen had asked me to do for free. Because who needs a real accountant when Emily the robot auditor is right next door? I used my key card, slipped in quietly, and heard voices from the boardroom before I even reached the door. Karen's voice, no longer honey sweet. She's being more difficult than usual with that "I'll think about it" nonsense. Since when does Emily think about anything we ask? Todd laughed, that wet, vape-tinged chuckle. 18 grand is a lot, even for her. She makes what, 90,000? She can swing it. My actual salary was 78. They always inflated it in their heads. Made the theft feel smaller. Relax, Karen continued. The thank you dinner was Brittany's idea. Make her feel special first. But if she drags her feet, we go plan B. My little health scare. Chest pains. Shortness of breath. We already put the deposit down on the pool cabanas. She'll pay out of guilt before I even get to the fake ER part. They laughed. Actually laughed. The sound scraped across my nerves like nails on a chalkboard. God, she's such a sucker, Todd said. All those spreadsheets, and she still falls for the community emergency every single time. Karen's voice turned syrupy again. Watch your mouth. That sucker has kept this HOA solvent for 3 years. She's our iron bank, always pays her debts. Except she's paying ours. More laughter. Miss Responsible with her perfect lawn and perfect checks. She can't even see what's right in front of her face. What's in front of her face is neighbors who need her, Karen corrected, still chuckling. If she wasn't so emotionally stunted, she'd have her own family to spend money on. Since she doesn't, we're doing her a favor, giving her purpose. I stood frozen in the hallway. Documents clutched so tight the paper creased. $137,000. 3 years of my life. And they were already spending money they hadn't even asked me for yet. I backed out silently, drove home on autopilot, and opened that spreadsheet again. This time I added a new tab titled Evidence, because the robot had just finished rebooting. And the new programming had only one directive: collect every debt. Thursday morning, the opening move arrived exactly on schedule. Karen's text at 11:15 while I was in a meeting. Feeling a bit off today? Chest tight. Probably nothing. Love you. Dear. The probably nothing was a masterstroke, brave yet planting the seed. I typed back. Hope you feel better. Drink water. By evening, Dave joined the performance. Your president isn't looking good. She says indigestion, but I'm worried. Has she taken antacids? I replied, yes, but still uncomfortable. Maybe you could stop by. Can't tonight. Big presentation tomorrow. Tell her to rest. I could feel their frustration through the phone. This wasn't the script. Responsible Emily was supposed to drop everything. Rush over. Offered to drive her to urgent care. Maybe even write a check for medical bills the HOA insurance won't cover. Instead, I treated it exactly like the minor indigestion they claimed it was. Friday brought Todd into the game at 5:50 a.m. while I was on the treadmill. Emily. Karen was up all night, clutching her chest. Sounds serious. Has she made a doctor's appointment? A doctor's appointment? This could be her heart. Then DR. Martinez usually has same-day slots. That's how healthcare works. He sputtered. You're acting like you don't even care. I care about her getting actual medical attention instead of panic. Click. The texts escalated all day. Photos of Karen looking pale on her couch. Hair and makeup suspiciously perfect. Updates from Dave. Even Brittany chiming in with stress triggers heart issues in older women. I responded with measured concern and 0 offers of money. Saturday morning, the desperation call came at 7:20. Todd's number. Karen's voice weak and trembling. Emily. Honey, I think I need to go to the hospital. Then go, I said simply. Need Dave to drive, or should I call an ambulance? A long pause. An ambulance seems extreme. Not if you're having heart problems. That's exactly what they're for. Call a 911 if it's real. Otherwise, it can wait. She hung up on me. 20 minutes later, Todd called back in full theatrical panic. They're admitting her for observation. EKG, blood work, the works. What if something's really wrong? Then it's good she's there. Keep me posted on the results. I didn't go. I didn't send money. I sat on my couch drinking coffee and watching the group chat explode with dramatic updates while I calmly replied, sending positive thoughts. By 3 p.m., the tests were all normal. Acid reflux. Prescription antacids. False alarm. Dave's final call dripped frustration. The ER bill is going to be at least $3,000 with our insurance. That's expensive. Good thing you have that emergency fund the board set up 3 years ago, the one I helped seed with my last special assessment. Silence. I hung up. The Iron Bank had just declined withdrawal, and they had no idea the vault was about to lock forever. The second family dinner invitation arrived the following Thursday. Karen herself waiting by my car in the parking garage like a pastel ambush. We need to talk. Dear. This distance between us is killing the whole community spirit. I unlocked my door. I responded to every text during your health scare. You know what I mean? You've been cold. More than usual. There was again. Cold. Their favorite word for anyone who stopped dispensing cash. I smiled. I've been consistent. Perhaps that feels different. She clasped her hands like a prayer. Just come to dinner Saturday. No agenda. Your Willow Creek family needs you. The no agenda promise was almost cute considering I'd recorded their entire Plan B conversation on my phone. I agreed anyway. The final act needed its stage. Saturday arrived sticky and oppressive. I dressed professional, but not wealthy. When I walked into the clubhouse, the whole board was assembled. Atmosphere thick with barely contained panic. Potluck this time. Karen's way of showing they were struggling after the ER bills they'd never actually paid. Conversation stayed neutral until dessert. Todd cleared his throat. So about the pool. We've been thinking Cabo, the full renovation, might be too ambitious. Maybe scale it back to just the spa section. Only 10,000 instead of 18. Only 10,000, I repeated, letting the words rot in the air. Brittany jumped in, voice syrupy. We've already put down deposits. We'd lose 3,000 if we cancel now. Who's 3,000? I asked quietly. The room froze. We borrowed it, Todd admitted, face pale. From our personal savings. But we need to pay it back. From whose personal savings? Karen's motherly tone sharpened. Emily, your community is trying to compromise. The least you could do is help the way you always have. Like I helped with the entrance sign, the Christmas lights, the memorial bench, the roof repair on the clubhouse that somehow only my check covered, the fines I paid for houses that weren't even mine for 3 straight years. Dave tried the stern patriarch voice. Communities help each other. Interesting definition of each other, I said, taking a slow sip of water. From where I sit, it looks pretty one-directional. Brittany burst out. How can you be so selfish? Do you know how embarrassing this is? I smiled, a real one. Then don't beg. God, you really are predictable. Todd muttered. No wonder you're alone. Robot. The word hung there like a gift. They thought they were insulting me. They were actually handing me the detonator. I set my fork down. Let's make a deal. I'll give you the 10,000 for your scaled-back spa paradise. Hope flashed across every face like Christmas lights. But I have conditions. Karen leaned forward, eager. Of course you do. First, this is the last dollar you ever get from me. No more special assessments. No more emergency funds. No more community spirit checks. She started to protest. I kept going. Second, I want a full accounting of every single dollar I've given this HOA over 3 years. Receipts, bank statements, everything. Why would you need that? Karen's voice tightened. For my records. I'm sure you've been keeping track of all the loans you plan to repay someday. The silence was so complete I could hear the air conditioning hum. And third, I said, standing slowly, I want you all to admit right here, right now, exactly what you think of me. No more pretense. No more backbone of the community theater. Tell me what you really think of Emily the robot, the Iron Bank, the sucker who falls for every fake health scare and every ridiculous fine. Karen's face went gray. We don't. I heard you, I said quietly. Tuesday, when I dropped off the financial review, I heard every word of Plan B. The laughing, the kidney stone con from last year, the fake heart attack, the sucker jokes, the Iron Bank comments. I have the recording. The silence stretched until it hurt. Brittany looked like she might actually faint. Todd's vape pen slipped from his fingers and clattered onto the table. Karen's perfectly manicured hands trembled so hard her water glass rattled. Well, I prompted, voice still calm. $10,000 for the truth. That's more than generous considering you already spent money you assumed I'd give you. Karen tried one last performance. Tears welling on cue. Emily, honey, we never meant. Stop. I held up my phone, screen glowing with the voice memo app. No more acting. Either tell me what you really think or the money. The conversation and my involvement in this HOA all end right now. Todd cracked first, face flushing angry red. Fine. You want the truth. You're cold. You sit in your perfect little townhouse with your perfect little spreadsheets looking down on the rest of us like we're beneath you. You dole out money like you're doing us these huge favors. But it always comes with that silent judgment. You never just give. It's always with that disappointed robot stare. I nodded. Keep going. You don't know what it's like to struggle, he continued, gaining steam. To have dreams that don't fit into your neat little rulebook. You've never taken a risk. Everything's calculated. You're not living, Emily. You're just existing, a machine programmed to work, save, and judge everyone who doesn't. Brittany jumped in, emboldened. You act like you're so generous, but real generosity doesn't keep score. You probably have every penny cataloged somewhere waiting to throw it back in our faces. You're not family. You're an ATM with legs. Dave finally looked up from his pie. You were always different. Emily, even when you first moved in, too serious. Too focused on being right instead of being part of the community. We worried you'd never learn to enjoy Willow Creek. And we were right. Look at you. 36. Alone. No life outside of audits and rule following. What's the point of all that success if you have no one to share it with? I turned to Karen. Her tears had stopped. She just looked exhausted. Your turn, she whispered, voice shaking. I love the idea of you, Emily, but I don't like you very much. You make me feel like a failure as president. Every time you hand over money, it's with this air of superiority, like we're all charity cases instead of your neighbors. Maybe that's all we've become to you. But whose fault is that? You never let us in. You just positioned yourself as the savior. And now you resent us for needing saving. The words hung in the air like smoke. Thank you, I said simply. That was enlightening. Todd's voice cracked with hope. So, do we get the money? I laughed, a real, bright, freeing laugh that made them all flinch. No, but you said, I said I'd give you 10,000 if you told the truth. You told me what you think of me. You left out the most important part. You never admitted to the scams. The fake emergencies. The manipulation. The way you see me is nothing but a walking checkbook. That's what I heard on Tuesday. The laughing. The planning. The sucker jokes. Remember? Karen's face had gone completely blank. What do you want from us? Emily. Nothing, I said, picking up my purse. Absolutely nothing. And that's exactly what you're going to get from me from now on. Dave stood, disbelief coloring his voice. You're really going to do this? Cut off your own community over pride. No, I said, heading for the door. Self-respect. Something you all think I lack because I choose to follow rules instead of break them for profit. But here's what you never understood. Every dollar I gave was a choice. I chose to help because I thought that's what neighbors did. Neighbors don't con each other. Neighbors don't laugh about exploiting each other's reliability. Neighbors don't plan fake heart attacks to fund luxury pools. I paused at the doorway, looking back at the four of them frozen like a dysfunctional family portrait. You were right about one thing. I have been keeping score. $137,000 over 3 years. That's what my community spirit cost me. But you know what? It was worth every penny because now I know exactly what I was buying. The truth about how little I actually meant to any of you beyond what I could provide. Karen stood, chair scraping. Emily, please. You can't just leave. Watch me, I said. And don't bother with any more emergencies. I'm changing my number Monday. My email too. You want a robot? Consider this my system shut down. I walked out of that clubhouse with the strangest feeling, like I was floating. The weight I'd carried for 3 years had vanished, leaving me almost dizzy with lightness. Behind me, I could hear the eruption begin, Karen crying, Todd shouting, Brittany's shrill voice, but it all faded as I got into my car and drove the 2 blocks home. They tried, of course. The call started before I even reached my driveway. Dozens of them. Texts ranging from apologetic to furious to desperately pleading. Voicemails I deleted without listening. Emails with subject lines like, "Please don't do this to the community," and "You're making a huge mistake." By Sunday night, they escalated to showing up at my door. I watched through the peephole as they took turns knocking, calling my name, demanding I stop being childish and talk about this like adults. I sat on my couch with a glass of wine and a book, perfectly content to wait them out. Eventually, the neighborhood security patrol, the one I had quietly funded for years, asked them to leave. Monday morning, I did exactly what I'd promised. New phone number, new email. Removed every single one of them from my social media. Not blocked, just removed. Clean, surgical, final. The freedom was intoxicating. For the first time in 3 years, my paycheck was actually mine. All of it. I signed up for that pottery class I'd wanted for ages. Booked a solo trip to Iceland. Started therapy to figure out why I'd let myself be used for so long. 3 weeks later, I heard through a mutual neighbor that the pool renovation had been postponed indefinitely. Apparently, the deposits were non-refundable and Karen's personal savings weren't as deep as she claimed. A month after that, someone mentioned seeing the Prescotts at the local food bank. The same people who'd once sneered at cheap grocery stores now accepting charity. The irony tasted better than any wine Karen had ever served. But cutting toxic people out of your life isn't the triumphant movie moment everyone expects. It's quiet. It's eating Chinese takeout alone on Thanksgiving and feeling simultaneously free and unutterably sad. It's seeing neighbors chatting over fences and feeling the phantom pain of something you never really had. It's wondering if you made the right choice even when you know you did. My therapist asked once if I regretted anything. I thought about it for a long time. I regret that it took me so long to see the truth, I finally said. I regret every dollar that went to enabling their dysfunction instead of building my own life. But mostly I regret that they never saw me as anything more than a resource to be exploited. And now, she prompted, now I'm learning who I am when I'm not defined by what I can provide for others. 6 months later, I ran into Brittany at the coffee shop. No designer bag, no fake smile. She looked smaller somehow. She saw me and froze. I simply collected my order and turned away. "Emily," she called to my back. "Todd and I, we broke up 2 months ago when the money stopped. So did the relationship. I just wanted you to know you were right about all of it." I kept walking. There was nothing left to say. A year later, I'm still alone by their definition. No husband, no kids, no HOA potlucks where everyone pretends to care between requests for money. But I'm not lonely. I have friends who value me for more than my checkbook. Colleagues who respect my skills without calling me robotic. A life that's mine, built on my terms, funded by my efforts. Sometimes I wonder if they ever think about me beyond the financial void I left. Do they remember the neighbor who existed before she became their personal ATM? Do they regret choosing greed over genuine community? Or do they still sit around that clubhouse convincing themselves I'm a villain? I'll never know. And that's the point. Their opinions, their emergencies, their ridiculous rules. None of it is my concern anymore. They wanted a robot. They got one. A robot that finally learned to reprogram itself. Shut down the subroutines that kept it trapped in endless cycles of giving and getting nothing in return. My name is Emily Thompson. I'm 37 now, financially stable, emotionally free, and completely estranged from the Willow Creek HOA. Some people would call that a tragedy. Me, I call it the best investment I ever made. Because it turns out the most expensive thing I was paying for wasn't the pool or the fines or the special assessments. It was the illusion that they ever cared. And letting go of that, priceless.